You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Hey, this is episode 271 of the IT in the D Show. Guests this week
Playing
include
all Bob's favorite songs
the worst
all night long.
Yeah, just to make me mad. Thank you. Guests this week include Nathan Lebenz from Waymark, going to be talking about the advent of video advertising and how it's kind of taking over what we're kind of traditionally used to. Also, RJ King in the house from DBusiness magazine brought us some toys. Going to be talking about, you guys have been around forever. Should be a fun conversation. But before we get going, hey, life is too short for bad Wi-Fi. Thankfully, the Eero home Wi-Fi system brings you fast, reliable connection in every room of the house. We talk about it all the time. I got this weird 3-story house. Nuri lives in like an old school Detroit mansion, and like literally neither one of us have any problems. Nuri's got like a bunch of coders in his house. I got a bunch of whiny kids. And, no complaints, man. Yeah, this
my Netflix doesn't. Yeah, I don't get it. Netflix is buffering. I don't hear that anymore. Yeah.
Like outside in my yard on my Wi-Fi making phone calls, and Eero just completely entire.
I connect to your Wi-Fi from the street.
It's even when you don't know that he's there.
But hey, not to mention the second generation Eero and Eero Beacon allowed you to build a Wi-Fi system that's more perfectly tailored to your home than ever before. And now when you add Eero Plus, which what we just did this week,
dude, I'm a big fan. Have you played around with it yet?
Not a lot, but just a little bit.
So good.
But you get total network protection, but powered by Zscaler, actually, which is one of our favorites, with the ability to block malicious and unwanted content across your entire network. By checking sites you visit against a database of millions of known threats, Eero Plus prevents you from accidentally visiting malicious and bad sites without slowing everything down.
Accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Ad blocking improves load time for ad-heavy sites. You can browse and stream faster than ever before. Do us a favor. Never think about Wi-Fi again unless we tell you to. Get $100 off the Eero base unit plus 2 beacons and a year of Eero Plus. Do us a favor. Go to Eero.com/IT in the D. That's EERO.com/IT in the D and enter code IT in the D at checkout. That's really simple. Eero.com/IT in the D and get you some good Wi-Fi.
It's really the best you'll ever buy. Seriously.
No kidding. Yeah, no, all three of us. Yeah, I agree 1,000%. Dave, you may fire when ready.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Following program is intended for mature audiences.
I'm Wyatt, that's Gary, you're Bob, and you're Dave. This is the IT in the D Show.
This is Max Headroom. And what you're about to witness is one of the most sinister-sounding intros to a trailer to one of the greatest epics ever.
This is Billy D. Williams. Bob and Dave and I are enjoying a Colt 45 right now. And remember, IT in the D, it works every time.
Just where do you guys think you are? The Library of Congress? Detroit? Beyond the sun? Any of those right?
Take him to Detroit. No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that! No!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Then don't come! Shut up!
Hi, this is Jeremy London from Mallrats, and I'm just wondering, how did I go from Hot Floridian Sex with Brandy spinning to the IT and D Show?
Hi, this is Christy Swanson, and you're listening to the IT in the D Show. And Bob and Dave touch my hoo-hoos.
What happens when you tap the angry beaver in the bumhole?
Exactly. Come on. Try. What the hell with this? I'm calling a break. We'll come back to the show.
This is Guilfoyle from Silicon Valley, and the only two guys I hate more than Dinesh are Bob and Dave. Suck it, guys.
What's up, everybody? This is Billy Zapka. Sweep the leg. Listening to IT in the D Show. No mercy.
I may have to wipe the beak off.
Hi, this is David Kay, the voice of Professor Xavier from X-Men Evolution. Storm! Come here, Storm. Sit on my lap, Storm. You're listening to IT in the D.
Are we at a break yet?
Hey, everybody, this is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. You're listening to IT in the D. And if you want to get your money's worth, stay right here. And remember, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Hi, I'm Ernie Hudson, and you're listening to IT in the D. All you nerds out there.
Nerds.
What is a nerd?
Hi, this is Ogre. You listen to a bunch of nerds on the IT and the D? Nerd.
I'm a nerd, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Hey, Detroit, this is Anthony Michael Hall. You're listening to my buddies Bob and Dave on IT in the D.
Hey, what up? This is Jay Muse, and you're listening to the IT&D Show. Snooch to the nooch. Listen, Muse, Snoogans.
This is Scott Steiner, Big Pump Pump. IT&D Show is your hookup. Holler if you hear me.
I'm totally into Dave, but not
Right.
so much Bob.
This is Robert Hayes, Ted Stryker to my mother. When I'm not hanging out at the Magumbo bar, I'm listening to the IT and the D show. It's worse than Detroit.
Is there such thing as a meat hangover?
I love my Monday meat stick.
Hey, folks, this is WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and you're listening to the IT and the D Show. Tough guy. Ho!
Hi, this is Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science.
So,
Bob and Dave, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
The question isn't what are we going to do, the question is what aren't we going to do.
Ludicrous speed! Sir, had you better buckle up? Now buckle this! Ludicrous speed! Go!
What is up? Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show, broadcasting live here in Studio One in Podcast Detroit in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. This is Bob the Sales Guy. Sitting across from me is Dave the Geek. Nuri the FNG is in the house, as is Randy. I do the Twitters. Find us online, itandthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, and subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
In a world. No, kidding.
Hey, only I can do that.
Hey, so here's the deal. Almost every day we hear something on the news about a cyber attack. Sometimes it's just a bunch of pranksters, but more often it's a foreign country with vast cyber resources trying to hack our power grid, our banking systems, or our military's information networks. The National Security Agency plays a big part in protecting our country from cyber attacks, and you can help. The NSA is hiring technical professionals to serve on the front lines of information security. If you work in computer science, networking, programming, or electrical engineering, you can help keep our country safe. Design new hardware systems and networks, write faster, smarter programs, protect America's critical infrastructure, or help uncover what our I can't say that word. Or help uncover what our adversaries are planning to do next. It's going to be that kind of night. Learn more about careers at the National Security Agency today. Visit intelligencecareers.gov/NSA. That's intelligencecareers.gov/NSA.
I do that, and Dave yells at me after the show and then makes fun of me for 2 months.
I just felt you glaring at me.
Well, with this
I didn't even look at you.
With this one, the NSA has actually dinged Bob's or Dave's score by like 5 points.
Exactly. My FICO score just took like a 100-point hit.
Now you can't fly. They're gonna mess with your.
That's right. I'm on a watch list. It's all. So, dude, we have so many things we have going on. So we've got this Saturday in particular is crazy. We've got free podcast day going on here at the Podcast Detroit Royal Oak Studios. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can use our studios for free. All you got to do is hit our website, hit the Start Your Podcast, click the free podcast day link. Pick a date, well, there's only one date to pick. Pick a time slot, and then, come in and record your show. We put it through the same post-prod syndication editing processes that we do for all our stuff. Kind of fun.
You mean I can't just show up when I want to and expect some studio time? No?
We've had it happen, and we tell you to go away. Oh. If you don't sign up, if we don't know you're coming, you don't get the call.
But I want it now.
And then that night, we're doing 80s night. At the Detroit Shipping Company, where our downtown studio is.
80s night.
It's Bob. Bob had himself some fans last time.
I gave a couple phone numbers out. Yeah,
I'm sure you did. They weren't yours, but you gave.
No,
right,
I did.
My phone was ringing off the hook.
867-5309.
Right. Yeah.
For a good time call. Right.
Yeah. And then 555 whatever. And then let's see 11-6. After you vote. Because if you don't vote, I don't want to hear from you. We have our Ann Arbor event down at the Haymaker. And then 11-8.
Where there are no hay and there are no makers.
There's nobody winding up with a big,
I'm
fist.
so angry at Pretzel Bell. They have pretzels and a bell. I'm like, my shtick is ruined.
They didn't until they heard you were coming.
Exactly.
They did not. And then 11-8, 2 days later on Thursday, we've got the podcaster meetup at Selena's. And then a week later, Thursday the 15th, we have our IT and the D meetup at Selena's. So
make it stop,
we
mommy.
have all the things all the time. And then I think we figured out what we're doing for our December event and the charity for which we are doing it. So we'll announce that probably next week.
Yeah, no, it's a good call.
It is.
But hey, I always tell you guys how I buy stupid things when I'm drunk at Selena's or at Muldoon's or at Duffy's.
It's a big thing, right?
Yeah,
you do. You thoroughly enjoy drunk Bob shopping purchases,
right? I think
it's
the
like
dumbest
Christmas every day at your house.
The dumbest one I bought, I think, because of the talk with Mary
cabin
going to
up
Peru.
in the woods.
No, I never bought that down payment, but I got it back. When Nuri went to Peru and I kept talking about Lake Titicaca, I got an ad for a T-shirt, Lake Titicaca Motorboat Club.
Right.
And I bought it.
Of course
I'm an idiot. Because I go, oh my God, I got to buy it. Because then I get it. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I buy it?
Why did I buy this?
I made the dumbest purchase I think I ever did in the history, and I wasn't even drunk. Planters cheese balls used to be a staple of our Monday night.
See, and that's why I don't think this is a dumb purchase for you. I think this is a nostalgia purchase.
No, but the fact that this is where it had to go. So it was a 3-pack for $9.99, right, in the cans. They re-released it to the public, and this is like history. Like when I used to go over to Mark's to watch wrestling when we were like 19 years old, like I would bring over Planters cheese balls and like a 2-liter of Barks, and that was our diet for like. That's why I look like I do right now. So they brought back. They've been gone for like 15 years. And they brought them back.
There's been lots of generic versions floating around.
Yeah, and they all suck. But Planters had this distinct. They were amazing. I don't know. Maybe it's revisionist history. Who knows?
Secret dust. It's going to wind up being like spaghetti.
It is going to taste like shit. I know. But they had a 3-pack for $9.99 on Box.com. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to order it.
Got it.
And then, minimum purchase is $19.99. Well, if you do $9.99 times 2, it's $19.98, and they won't let me buy that penny. So I had to buy 3. So I just bought $30 worth of Planters cheese balls. They're arriving in 2 days.
So Mark's coming over for a sleepover when?
Yeah, I texted him. I said, I got a present for you. You got to help me eat all these things because they won't last.
Hey, before we get too deep and get into the, cause I'm going to get this out of the way now because we have funny yuck stories later. I do want to talk about something really heavy, because it happened a couple weeks ago. And just as sort of like a PSA kind of thing. So I got roofied. I was at a bar, doing a remote with one of our shows. It doesn't matter which bar it is. They've been phenomenal. I don't feel the need to name them for a couple different reasons. One, they've been phenomenal. 2, the guy has been caught. And more importantly, this can happen anywhere. So I was.
You're making it light though. It wasn't just roofied. I mean, you got hit with a serious.
Yeah. So I was there and I broke off and went to set up the remote gear. The girl who was with me went up to the bar and sat by herself. So I mean, to be clear, I wasn't actually the target. She was. I went and got all the gear set up, and then walked back out to the bar where she was, and she said, "Hey, this drink tastes great. You should really try this." And so I did. I took a big old pull off of it. And then within a couple minutes, wasn't feeling right. Just kind of shrugged it off to, I don't know, maybe the drink was really strong. I don't know, maybe because at this point in time, those of you who know me, I had 1 vodka soda and then the pull off that drink. Anyone in this room can attest to the fact that does nothing to me. And I went from 0 to feeling pretty torpedoed, pretty quickly. Continued to feel wrong over the course of the night. And this is how insidious this stuff is I didn't even realize how wrong I felt. And I certainly didn't realize how off she was. Truly the saving grace is that I took a big old pull off that drink. And so she did not get the full dose. When we both went to the ER, later, cause we were both still feeling wrong, we'd been hit with ketamine, and Rohypnol. And
ketamine is a horse tranq for those playing at home.
It's a horse tranquilizer.
And it's psychedelic, and it's pretty deep and pretty small quantities.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this was a Friday night. Saturday is almost completely lost to me. Sunday, I was still fuzzy around the edges, well into Sunday night and even a little bit off on Monday. And like I said, the bar itself was great. Like they got the footage. They went back and basically, apparently the bar owner had a buddy, who used to work for Homeland Security. And it literally wasn't until they threw the footage up on a big screen and watched frame by frame what this guy did that they saw it. I mean, this guy was so smooth and so polished. This was obviously not the first time he's done this. I mean, you'd have sworn he was just gesturing his hand over her drink at something else across the room. And when, he was identified, cause as criminals are, they are stupid. And he went back to the bar, and all the staff had been alerted to keep an eye out for him. So as soon as he walked in the door, cops were called. Arrest was made. When they searched his apartment, they found what was described to me as a stockpile, of chemicals. He had a large amount of, this and other date rape drugs. And yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of shaken me. I'm not going to lie, because, you know,
this shit still exists.
Well, not only that, dude, but like, you know, I've heard the stories and I've read the stories and I know that it's out there, and it's, you know, it's like I said, it's almost like the comic book thing with my daughter a couple years ago. Like, until it's actually in my face and literally getting crammed down my throat, I didn't really get it. And I do. And wow. And so it's, you know, I'm like I said, I'm glad that, you know, I took a pull off the drink and she didn't get the whole dose. I'm glad that she had me there and she wasn't alone and I was able to keep her safe. It's a jacked up situation. And that's why I said, I mean, it really doesn't matter where this took place. Cause like I said, they've been, if they hadn't been great, I'd be naming names big time and we'd be having a much different conversation. But this can happen anywhere. And so, and she said, she made a dumb decision. She left her drink on the bar when she walked outside to grab a smoke. And she, you know, she was like, I felt safe. It was a cool little place. The bartender was friendly. Everybody seemed good. And she's like, I didn't even think about it. Cause I mean, dude, we're in our 40s. Like, who thinks about that anymore at our age?
You don't.
And yeah, so think about it. Be aware, keep your head on a swivel. And like I said, the worst thing to me is that, you know, like, I know myself drinking. I've seen her drinking a bunch of times and I still didn't get that something was that wrong. Yeah.
Well, not only that thread that came out on Reddit about, you know, making safe words and, you know, putting posters up in the girls' bathroom, like, hey, if you ever feel uncomfortable, we'll walk you out the back door and we'll get you the hell out of there.
It's a lot of bars in Europe that do.
That needs to be a thing here.
Yeah, it's called Ask for Angela.
Yeah. England, it's
in England,
started,
in Europe, yeah. And there are apparently a couple, because there are a couple bars around here that do it. I think more need to.
It's ask for a special type of cocktail.
Or ask for an angel shot.
Yeah. Exactly.
With, you know, and then.
Or they change the drink every, like a pink Russian.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of, but they'll change it just in case the word gets out. You know, or a girl says something like, so every week they change it to a different drink or a different bartender's name. You know, but the fact that that's a thing too is like, yeah, it's scary for crap we're dealing with.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my PSA. Dave got roofied. Dave survived. Yeah. It's heavy shit. I mean, I'm still dealing with a lot of crap about it just cause it's you know me. I'm old school, you know, Italian mentality. You're supposed to protect people around you. And the fact that like I didn't realize something was wrong with her and I wasn't aware enough to know that, just shitty. But yeah, just keep your head on a swivel, kids.
Yeah. You know what isn't shitty? My stock portfolio with Red Hat getting bought today by IBM. Sorry, bad segue. Hey,
I like the fact that they got the stolen colon back. That
no,
would have been the perfect segue.
Oh my god! Well, before we get into Red Hat, yeah, if you have not,
I am officially lobbying for a hashtag of the week segment. Because I think stolen colon is enough of an impetus.
No. Hold on. If you don't know what the hell Dave's talking about or me, in Kansas City, you know how like when they have men's health things and you get to walk through like a giant butthole and like they talk about.
I've never seen at a men's health thing.
Right. You're right. There's a giant butthole and you walk through it and you're like, oh, there's a polyp. I must have ass cancer. Blah, blah, blah.
Cancer?
I'm making light of it. I know, but it's a thing. Somebody stole the inflatable giant butthole
inflatable colon.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you could just walk away with that. I mean, the thing was 10 feet long and 150 pounds. Do you think someone would notice it just kind of slowly walking away?
Oh, but the fact that there was a tip that led authorities to the butthole.
Can you imagine that phone call? Excuse me, officers.
I think my buddy stole the anus.
My neighbor has suddenly has a 10-foot long
giant rack of ribs
colon in his backyard, and the guy's always been a butthole. But
playing slip and slide through it. They're dressing up in all brown, running through it, laughing. It's crazy. Like,
I would love to be on the other end of that tip line.
Amazing. That was the thing. Like now, so hashtag stolen colon is like trending global for like, and then the butthole's been found. So like, Kansas City police tweeted out like the inflatable colon's been recovered. Everyone can sleep peacefully now that the colon's in safe hands. I got a bell right here.
I do not have a bell.
Well, yeah, if you haven't looked it up, it's so ridiculous that became a giant news piece. But anyway,
back to Red Hat, yeah.
So back to yeah. But so if you know, obviously everybody knows what Red Hat is. All it was the services arm to do Linux deployments.
Well, it's more than that.
Yes, I know it turned into more than that. That's what it kind of started off as.
Well, Red Hat was always a distribution of Linux that you could download for free.
Right.
It's a good distribution. And then they had the enterprise version.
Red Hat Enterprise Linux
which
came
for
along.
$350, you buy a server license, or for $2,500, you buy a data center license. And that's a license to use the software. But then Red Hat got into the infrastructure as a service business, which IBM, admit it, IBM hasn't done anything interesting in the last several years, with the exception of maybe Watson.
Right.
Their stock has fallen. I saw a statistic somewhere. Oh, it's a third of the value in the last 5 years. And Red Hat is up 170%.
Right. And it was up 40 just today alone.
Well, the only reason people buy IBM is because they have offices everywhere, so they can get like immediate on-site customer support.
Isn't that funny how we follow up a story about a giant colon with a company called IBM? Sorry. Old jokes. They die hard. But this is the largest software acquisition in the history of software.
Yeah, $34
billion, right.
That's crazy.
And it's one of those things when we talk about these overinflated valuations, but like, was there something there at Red Hat, or was this thing?
Well, it's also at a 63% premium of their purchase price, or their stock price.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. I hope
how
IBM's
they're
got
actually
something.
doing this is IBM is buying all the shares.
That's crazy.
$190 a share.
Yeah. And literally, I got a phone call like, "Hey, stock went up 40 on your Red Hat." I go, "I own Red Hat." I'm like, "Cool." Right? Hey. I know, right? But speaking of valuations, I don't know if this is right or wrong, or if it's a fly by night. But like, Epic went out and
dude,
if you don't know who Epic is, they own Fortnite. And if you don't know
what Fortnite is, you don't have kids.
You're not 9 years old, yeah, exactly, or you don't have kids. But Fortnite is like I don't even know what is it, like Hunger Games, the video game. I don't know what to call it. Like
with World of Warcraft.
It's like a battle royale style.
They drop you off on an island and it's like kill or be killed.
Yeah.
But it raised $1.25 billion
which I don't understand why they need it, dude. My kid is like a crack-addled monkey. Like he just had his birthday, and that's all he wanted his birthday money to go to was stupid V-Bucks.
We had that story out of the UK where there was like 260 divorces in the last year.
That cited Fortnite. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, one of the moms from school, she put all over Facebook how I think he's 8 or 9. He's either 3rd or 4th grade or 5th grade. I forget. Racked up $300 in skins for Fortnite. Not even buying good weapons or good shields or anything.
Premium.
He bought skins.
Well, that's why you have a passcode on your purchase account.
Yeah, everyone told her she's stupid for leaving an open credit card on her kid's Xbox.
What gets me is you're paying $1.25 billion for something that will probably be a fad that has already peaked and is on the way out.
No. So this is not Fortnite. It's so Epic, the company above Fortnite, raised $1.25 billion in funding. Because that's okay. What's your next thing going to be, Epic? Is it going to be Epic?
I don't know if that's a good deal though, because think about World of Warcraft. That was the hottest shit for.
Oh yeah, and where's Blizzard now?
Where's Blizzard? Exactly. So
they didn't make a good Diablo 3. That's why. If Blizzard would have made a good Diablo 3, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Would have made Half-Life 3.
Just 2 months ago, there was another expansion to World of Warcraft.
Oh, you know what's really good? Assassin's Creed finally done it right.
Oh, also, Blizzard also has the game Hearthstone.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Never heard of that. Shut up, Randy.
That's not that's valid. If you haven't, like the Assassin's Creed, I think this is my 4th one I've bought, and this is the first one where I'm like ingrained in this because you start off at the end of the movie 300. You're the King Leonidas' grandson.
Okay,
and you got the end of his spear that he broke off into Xerxes. Right, and it goes through the whole thing. You got to kill the Minotaur. You got to go through all the cities. You got to go to Athens. You got to go to Marathon.
Wasn't Assassin's Creed supposed to be like medieval period?
No, it can go to any time period. It's like Avatar, where there's 2 scientists. They jump on a thing and they go to any time period they want.
Okay,
just buy the damn game. It's good.
So my question is, Epic made almost $300 million in 1 month from Fortnite. Why do they need investment?
That was my question. Like, why did they?
Because they're probably bleeding. Have you seen what Azure and AWS costs are these days?
Oh, true.
I forget what company it is that. It's Snapchat. They're spending $400 million a year in Azure and AWS, so $800 million a year, and they don't even have a business model.
Hey, it's WeWork, man. They're $60 million in debt on rent, but still out doing stuff.
$60 billion
in rent. Yeah, it's still out doing stuff and still growing. Hey,
and you got a $2 billion valuation. Yeah,
someday.
Speaking of an interesting business model, did you see the article this week about Uber Eats and their strange list of vampire restaurants?
This was fascinating. Virtual.
I like to call them vampire restaurants.
Oh, you are. Yeah, they are kind of. Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
So basically, they tell stories of these restaurants in New York City that only exist in Uber Eats.
Yes.
Like a super successful place called the Brooklyn Burger Factory that sells hundreds of hamburgers but doesn't actually have a restaurant.
Right.
It's working out of a commercial kitchen owned by somebody else.
Right. And who had a burger, but like they would sell like maybe one a day and it wasn't that great.
No, but
now they're selling like 75 to 100 a day because it's on Uber Eats.
No, but this is where it came from. This is the interesting part. And this is but the data team at Uber Eats perceived a demand for gourmet burgers in the area, and they approached someone, basically a farmer, about the possibility of expanding the selection. And he liked the idea.
Not a New York City farmer.
The guy's name's Farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Farmer Ted.
Right, Farmer Ted, yeah. But they basically approached him saying, hey, we got data that says burgers would work. Want to sell burgers? And he said, okay.
And apparently he's changing his entire business model now.
He's changing the name of the business. Yeah.
Jeez. They give two other examples of places in Miami. Same thing. That was a pizza place that started selling wings on Uber Eats. And now they've had an 80% increase in revenue and are basically doing nothing but wings now. Like, I think that's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's Turkish place selling French fries.
Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't realize Uber Eats actually like calls.
I mean, that's fascinating.
No, it's beyond fascinating.
That data team.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what's going to work? I mean, really, they have the, and that's the thing we always joke about, that they don't own anything, but yet they own everything. And that's kind of case in point, right? They own the freaking data. And that's like become more important than anything these days.
Paying for a service,
you are, yeah.
Pay for a service. Uber Eats is not cheap.
True.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, good. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the restaurants pay for it too. Oh, wow. That's like a triple whammy.
Yeah.
Damn. So, hey, we did mention voting. These stories always freak me out. Whereas a researcher for Symantec, went out and bought a couple of voting machines, that were used in the 2016 elections off of eBay. That still
not off the dark web?
Nope, just off eBay.
For how much?
For $100.
Yeah.
And so had they been wiped properly? Or?
No, they still had the government property stickers on them. They still had the tamper resistant screws that didn't do anything on them.
At least the data on them was encrypted.
No, hard drives had not been touched and were not encrypted.
Throw up softballs here, Nuri.
Hard drives were not encrypted, had not been touched. They pulled all of the data for all of the votes, all of the voters, every precinct that was on there, every candidate that was on there. Yeah, good times. And just for giggles, they're all running Windows CE with open and functioning USB ports. Because why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you?
What the hell is CE? That's the Palm?
It's the mobile version.
It's like
pre-Palm, like almost like Palm. Yeah, the old. All right, that's what I thought.
It's even better. Those machines are still in use today.
Oh, and some of them are still available for sale on eBay. He said he went back and looked, and there are still some out there for sale.
Why do the voting machines have voter information on them? Those two things should be completely separate.
You would think so.
Like you go in, somebody verifies you're an eligible voter, and then you go to a machine that all it does is record your votes.
And you think the hard drive would be encrypted? You think the data sets on there would be encrypted? Do you think the screws would work? Do you think the stickers would be pulled? Like, there are just so many things that went wrong with this.
Because they want to know who the bad voters are. They're so they can send boxes of poop to Randy. That's what it's all about.
Voters in Texas are voting wrong. They're not waiting for the voting UI to fully load before they try to move on to the next page, and so it's recording votes incorrectly. Because apparently bad UI is not something that the government can request the vendors.
Well, I always wondered about that.
Have you ever seen a government website, like a real government? Like they suck. They really do.
No, I'm always worried about that with like the pen. Don't go outside the lines. I'm like, what are we in preschool? Like what happens if are they not counting my vote because I have a little smidge outside the lines?
At my precinct, it'll reject your ballot. You have to fill out a whole new one.
They'll tell you it's rejected?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's never happened to me. Weak. It is. It's
stay inside the lines, Bob.
I know, right?
We've been told that for 40 years. What do we got? So, again, speaking of voting, Facebook is trying to improve their transparency and improve your knowledge as a person of the things that you're seeing in your timeline.
No.
And that's great, except for the fact that Vice, and we love Vice, went ahead and just posted some political ads, and one of the required fields now is who's this ad paid for by? Who's this ad sponsored by? So they were able to post-political ads sponsored by Mike Pence, sponsored by ISIS.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Sponsored by anyone they wanted to, and which then appeared live. But yeah,
Hillary Clinton was rejected for some strange
Go
reason.
figure.
Yeah.
What if you need, like, maybe if you put a third L in there or something, or like an exclamation point instead of the, I don't know.
Hillary.
Hillary. Yeah. So yeah, Facebook. Great job, guys. You're just killing it on
Can we put
things.
Can we put a political ad out?
Yes.
Vote for turd sandwich.
Oh, you do one for turd sandwich. I'll do one for giant douche. And we'll see which one gets more engagement.
Who paid for it? We'll figure that one out.
Oh well, yeah. We'll run one from IT and the D, one from Podcast Detroit, and we'll see how much engagement we get on each one.
Just promise I can be turd sandwich though. I don't want to not be giant douche.
The interesting thing about that article said that you have to upload a picture of your ID to run a political ad, and you cannot be a citizen from outside the United States. But things like this make me not at all.
So I gotta upload my driver's license.
Your driver's license, yep.
What says ISIS on it?
I think I have
the one you create in Photoshop that you then upload.
No, I think I have a fake Elvis driver's license from Nashville from back in the day. I should just upload that and see if it works.
Your name is Pineapple.
They're not gonna exactly. But this one, I don't get. This article bothers me, and I love Ars Technica. They always come out with really good stuff.
Yeah.
And this article bothered me. And basically, it wasn't a clickbait title, but it basically says Russian trolls get a DM from U.S. Cyber Command. We know who you are. Stop it.
Yeah.
Now let's break this down for a minute, right? If there's trolls out there, and basically our Cyber Command basically says, I send them a DM going, hey, we know who you are. Stop it. Then how does anyone know about it? And why would they make it a news article? And why would they announce it or either write a press release or call the press going, hey, we sent a DM to real Russians. Like this, to me, this seems so ridiculously stupid on so many levels.
It is, but it's part of the whole, hey, we're doing stuff to combat stuff.
But isn't it like kind of like one of the creeds of like being a cybersecurity professional is you keep that shit to your vest?
Yeah.
Because if you don't want,
you don't
want to tell people how you do crap, so then they'll do crap.
Yeah, for the cybersecurity professionals, not their managers.
Oh, look what I did! Look what I could do! Yeah, yeah. It's what's his nuts from Mad TV. Look what I could do!
Right,
Ma.
exactly.
Come on, if that's the case, that's toilet.
So the one that made me mad, and I get like people want closure, and I get that people want like cases to be fully wrapped up and all. This one from here in Michigan, what's the dude's name? Doug Stewart, kills his wife 8 years ago.
That was the kid's name in Mad TV, by the way, Stewart.
Stewart. Kills his wife 8 years ago and never really admitted it. He was convicted because of testimony that had him
life sentence.
Crime, So yeah, he's already in life. He's already in for life. For whatever reason, they made a deal with him that if he would lead them to the body, he would get an Xbox in prison. And
they actually went through with it.
And they did. They brought him, he was like, oh yeah, it's here we go out in the woods where I buried her. There's that stump. She's right there. And sure enough, she's right there.
If you're spending the rest of your life in prison and you have basically said that your entire life that no, you didn't do it, an Xbox is maybe going to improve your quality of life for the next 40 years.
Well, yeah. Oh, look, I just tripped and broke it as I was delivering it to you.
That would be amazing. That would make me happy.
Oh, this hammer just fell out of my hand and broke. Oh.
What's that red ring of death and where'd that come
from? Dude, what if I
gave him a Xbox without the power cable?
You've got your Xbox, not the
and then no, but here's the thing, like everything's a goddamn update these days. You gotta give him Wi-Fi now?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are you gonna play? Except for Atari Classics.
Just give him the old original Xbox.
Right.
With no internet connection. And yeah, like Atari's greatest hits.
Right. This whole thing's stupid on 100 levels.
It didn't make me happy.
But now here's the thing. Who's going to kill him in prison to get the damn Xbox? Like, does he get like a private suite now to go play his What's everybody else doing? They got to go do lifting weights in the yard when he sits in there and plays freaking Assassin's Creed for Pew Pew for a bunch of garbage.
And so a long topic that we've talked about, or a topic that we talked about for a long time, Apple and Samsung both hit with fines this week. So Apple got hit with a $10 million fine, Samsung with a $5 million fine go figure. They really do slow down your phones.
This is in Italy too, right?
Yeah.
So this is interesting because Italy is kind of nice place, but they're kind of bureaucratic and
Oh,
slow to do
absolutely.
things. And there's apparently another lawsuit going on in France as well.
Yep.
But the thing that bugs me is like if I've got a 10-year-old iPhone and I'm grabbing new software features on it from the newest version of iOS,
right?
Should I expect it to run at the same speed as the brand new ones do?
No,
It's not the
but
same
if they
speed,
didn't
but-
force the iOS updates on you, that would be one thing. And I think that was one of the things that was called on this lawsuit. It was because of the forced upgrades. That's what caused the issues.
Do they actually force the upgrades on you?
They alert you, like they push a notification saying
Right.
there's a new update, but you have to click install.
Eventually, yeah, because I mean, Android, you pretty much have to security updates. Where I'm getting a lot now lately.
Yeah.
They're not as painful as they used to be.
Oh yeah, it used to be you plug your phone
hell.
in and it's going to be an hour before you can use it. Now it's like maybe 10 minutes and it's done.
If that.
Yeah, they're pretty slick.
Going
about
through
it
the
now.
apps is one thing, but yeah, I think they finally figured this whole thing out. But yeah, it's one of those things that used to be on, like if you go on Reddit, it used to be on a conspiracy sub that the phones shut themselves or slow down when you go. And now it's like actual reality.
Well, we talked about this when it initially happened. Is what happens is an older battery can't deliver the power needed for like an intense processor spike, so the phones used to just crash and reboot. And Apple just prevented those spikes, which in turn kind of slowed it down.
Sure.
But they've since that happened, clarified. They said, yes, we kind of handled this wrong when we rolled it out. We didn't they put it in release notes, but they didn't make a press release about it and how it worked. And they've added options to disable that feature. So that when your phone crashes for the first time, it'll say, hey, we noticed your battery's not performing well anymore. Do you want to turn on this feature that might slow down your phone, but it'll keep you from crashing when your battery can't respond well?
But in the new ones,
also replacing batteries for $30.
Well, the new ones you can't do it yourself, and now it's illegal to even fix your own battery in your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get where this is going, but yeah,
it's still sketchy.
Apparently, there are 60 lawsuits in the United States that are now consolidated into one big suit in the Northern District of California. So
a Voltron of suits, if you will.
So very interested to see where this is going to go. This may take legs. We'll see.
RJ, you got to get out of here after the next segment. I'll say we'll tee you up. Speaking, you're good. Okay, hey, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna be back. RJ King from DBusiness. This is the IT and the D Show.
But before we go, I want to shout out to Matt, IT and the D listener, who let me know that a celebrity chef is going to be in town. And I actually got to show around our studios at the shipping company. We recorded a couple of shows for Podcast Detroit. So again, thanks to Matt for letting me know she was going to be in town and for making that happen.
Thanks, Matt. This is the IT and the D Show.
And we'll be right back.
Sure, there's nothing else you want to get out before we stop? We're good? Okay, cool. Now.
Thanks, Billy, for buying me coffee at Starbucks.
All right, we're out.
IT in the D. Read, meet, listen. Networking Detroit, one beer at a time.
Hey, this is John Schneider from Nip Tuck Smallville, the haves and the have-nots. Oh, Dr. Quinn, Hot in Cleveland, Secret Life of the American Teenager, and just about everything you can possibly imagine. And oh yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard. You're listening to Bob and Dave. It's the IT in the D Show.
ITinthed.com.
Hey, welcome back. This is segment 2, episode 271 of the IT and the D Show, broadcasting live here in Studio 1 in Podcast Detroit in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. Bob the Sales Guy, Dave the Geek, Nuri the FNG, Randy, I do the Twitters. Find us online, ITinthD.com. You want to know why? Because we are IT in the D.
And you're still not. We love you, though.
We hear stories. You're
We
so
do.
cute. We love you. Muy, muy.
I know you're having an aneurysm
Muy.
right now.
Do us a favor, though. Give us a like on the socials and subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Finally, a cloud platform built for you and your business. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud hosting solution. It's optimized to meet your needs and make managing infrastructure easy. Plus, DigitalOcean makes it easy to deploy, manage, and scale applications with an intuitive control panel and API designed for developers. So you can spend more time building great things and less time managing your infrastructure. No wonder DigitalOcean is the preferred cloud platform of hundreds of thousands of innovative companies, including Docker, GitLab, and Slack. Join them, along with 150,000 other businesses that are already creating amazing things on DigitalOcean to get the infrastructure services you need to grow, from predictable pricing through flexible configurations to industry-leading customer support. Get started with a free $100 credit towards your first project and experience everything the platform has to offer, like cloud firewalls, real-time monitoring and alerts, global data centers, object storage, and the best support anywhere. Just go to do.co/IT to claim your credit today. That's do.co/IT. Join DigitalOcean and unlock the power of simplicity.
See, Dave, that's why Google pays Neri to do this, and you don't.
Every time I hear him talking, he's going, para español, primo ocho.
No, that's why Google pays him and flies him to Seattle, and that's why.
And we don't get flown anymore.
No, nobody likes. Yeah,
we don't.
Nobody. But hey, we are. You're probably the most patient man. Could not find this place to save his life, and it's all our fault because we wrote such crappy directions. But RJ King, I appreciate you spending time with us, coming down to the studio and hanging out with us. If you don't know RJ is been the leader of DBusiness magazine. If you're on Detroit, you obviously have seen it everywhere. But you were basically a magazine for business, economics, politics, and been doing this for about 12 years. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a little chore to get here. I thought you guys were behind that car wash up at 11 in Woodward.
Yeah, Apple Maps does not like us. They send everyone to Woodward, the other side of town.
Randy just showed me why, so I'm going to try to figure out a way to because I don't have an iPhone. I always did it. I didn't know why. Randy just showed me why, so I'm going to figure out why.
Thanks, Randy. So
it only took us 270 episodes to figure it out.
I know, right? We've been here 3 years. Anyway, So I guess for those that don't know DBusiness, right, I kind of summed it up, but I mean, in your words, what is DBusiness magazine?
So we focus on companies that are based in Metro Detroit that are growing here, nationally or internationally, and then get behind the executives that are running, small, medium, large corporations. We have international coverage in terms of the reach of the companies here. And, some of it's how to in terms of the companies that go through a dip.
Sure.
Or, a major roadblock and how they get through that. And then we have, fun stuff. So the magazine's built like a fine meal in a restaurant. You got the appetizers up front, soup, salad. You work your way up to the features, which are the entrees, and then the fun stuff's kind of in the back with the desserts.
That's good. Best description I've ever heard of.
Fun stuff's always on the back.
Yeah, exactly. That could be Metro Time suit. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I guess I'm curious. Like, we've been doing our networking events for IT folks since 2001. So I mean, you've been around for 12 years now. What have you seen? What do you see as the biggest changes in the Detroit business economy over that span?
Well, when we started in 2006, there was really nothing like. Nobody referred to startup companies, and there wasn't mobility or anything like that. The internet effect, you could still start a magazine without having to have a website, really. But soon after we started up DBusiness.com, we've come out with a daily newsletter, DBusiness Daily News. Now we just came out with Detroit 500, which are the 500 top business leaders in Metro Detroit. So really a resource guide for anyone out there.
We're not on that list.
We don't deserve. We shouldn't be on that list.
And then overall, we've been growing through acquisitions. So Our Media is our parent company. So we have Our Detroit here locally, DBusiness, Detroit Home, and then we've been acquiring magazines around the country. So think of those types of magazines with different names: Los Angeles, Sacramento, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Palm Beach, Naples.
So I guess what impact is that having on, because I know we hear, the cry of journalists everywhere that the Knight Ritters of the world, they're buying the Free Press and the Detroit News and they're not, it's no longer run locally. I guess how are you making sure that stays fresh and local?
So we have offices in all the markets that we're in. When we acquire a magazine, it's usually a set of magazines, say like 10. We take some of their troubles off their hands in terms of we bring the circulation back here. We put them on more cheaper print runs, so they get into larger printers that they couldn't on their own. And then we bring back the bookkeeping here. So really that office starts to focus more so on edit and design.
Actually on the content.
And we add resources where needed. And that's been a good model for us.
So, I mean, starting in 2006, that was kind of right at the cusp of, hey, everything's great. And then 2 years later, oh, crap, it's gone down. Right? And and then kind of the resurgence, right? I guess what does anything stick out in terms of, because I mean, back, if you look at how we started, 06 we were having, or 07 we were having meetups, everything was great. 08 happened and half of our crowd was out of work, and we started these job fairs to kind of help people get back on their feet. I mean, what's some of the things that stuck out in your mind in terms of getting the city built back up, in terms of where we came out of?
Well, I think what really helped Detroit was that bankruptcy in 2014. The bankruptcies of Chrysler and General Motors were coming for a long, long time. They had went to the government, GM especially in 1952, and said, hey, we're going to start offering pensions. And the government said, rightly so, you guys shouldn't do that, just rely on Social Security, but they did. And those packages became so rich, and you had so many retirees leaving at, 60 years old. You got to pay for all that health care. You got to provide those pensions. At the same time, you're producing way too many models off way too many platforms. So everybody, pretty much except the bankruptcy lawyers through the 2008, 2009 period, just took 30-40% haircut. And you survived, and, we had to let some people go. And, one thing that we don't have are printing presses. We rent those. So you can sign a year contract, a 3-year contract, lock in your prices so you don't have spikes in terms of paper cost. Paper costs right now are rising quite steadily because everybody's getting these Amazon boxes at their homes, and that's the same pulp that's used for paper.
Sure.
Well, we actually talked. That was one of the stories we talked about last week. That part of the issue is that there was one kind of wood that was specifically used for printing. But everybody gambled on this other kind of wood that they said was going to be great for like telephone poles and that kind of stuff. And so all the farmers that had basically that was their 401k, was their fields of trees that they planted, and nobody was planting these paper pulp trees. So we just talked about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's right on the point.
It's funny how it sounds like almost like the airline industry where they hedge on fuel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. It's almost, the printing thing. Now, are we trying? Obviously, that's your bread and butter, and they're probably trying to rip it away from you, hand over fist, trying to move to a digital platform. I mean, you're going to stay print for life. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I'm thinking there's still a market, and I still like reading the Sunday paper. I mean, I know I'm old school, but there's got to be that still's got to exist, right?
Well, people are living longer, and those people generally like a print experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a great affinity for well-designed magazine, books, newspapers to an extent. You just have to be so careful about what you do on the print side and on the digital side. For example, the Wall Street Journal, they do a great job. I mean, if you want an online subscription, I think it's around $300 for the year.
Yep.
Which, if you figure it out, that's a pretty good deal. A lot of the other newspapers were slow, like Detroit News, Detroit Free Press. They took a long time to start charging. I mean, it's hard to charge when you're giving away something for free.
Sure.
For us, we release the magazines, and then we wait 30 days until putting that content onto the websites, and then we trickle that out week by week, and we treat that almost as a new story. So when we put up a new story, it goes through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. And so every day, you're posting new content, even on the weekends.
Sure.
So that just keeps your activity up and your ad rates and all those things that go into Google AdWords. And
Sure.
those things.
I read more business stuff, I think, on the weekends anyway, because that's when I got my coffee and I'm sitting, I got nothing going on. That's when I can actually digest some of this stuff. Yeah.
So that's been what we have done. We haven't charged for our websites. But if you can continue to provide good content on a daily basis, that's the way to do it.
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, go ahead, Neri, if you got...
No, just looking through your website, which you have a very rich website. It's great.
Thank you.
There's a lot of different features in here. 30 in their 30s, powered by women, champions. I even saw an article about top restaurants in the Detroit metro area to have your business meetings at. So basically lots of things for business professionals. What would you say is your personal favorite thing that your magazine highlights every month?
Well, my favorite section of the
Pick
magazine.
a favorite child
is-
now.
Exactly. Bob, pick a favorite beer. What?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
The one I like is Closing Bell, which is our last page in the magazine, and it's a story that's of an industry or a movement that once was in Detroit. We have a rich history, over 300 years old. A lot of things have happened. So a focus, say, on the cigar industry, or we just did one on Keener 19 was a radio station in the mid 60s that, they were the official radio station for when the Beatles came here. And, it was owned by, one of the owners of the Detroit Tigers. He was down in Florida, I think, staying at a hotel with his wife, somehow stepped into a scalding hot tub of water, burned, died 2 days later.
Jeez.
And, his wife took over the station, and she was very proactive in terms of marketing it. In those days, it works when you put, little things on people's cars and tune into.
Gotta have a street team, man.
Yeah. And it was all, it was just, a really good story about a station that had this great run for like 3 years. So it has these great stories that relate to today in terms of companies, a lot of these startups going back to that are trying to get the word out. So you can do that through a digital platform, of course, but I think, obviously that's kind of the one that I really like to edit the most. And again, Detroit, we're so fortunate. A lot of people don't know we're the oldest city in the Midwest. And to get from the East Coast to here, up until the Erie Canal was opened in 1826, you really had to work. It would take you weeks to get here. So you had to be self-sufficient here, building homes, building ships, farming. Then we got into stove building, marine engines, and then perfectly set up with everything you needed to build a car, and you had a skilled labor force. So it was kind of no wonder the auto industry didn't start here, because we had all these assets ready to go, and then the river and the trains helped move those cars around the country, and that's like no other. If you were coming west, up until like the 1900s, you had to come through Detroit.
And I think that maybe explains or puts like a perfect highlight of why Detroit is so different. Like I've lived all over the world, and this is one of those places that I feel like Detroiters are more self-sufficient, more scrappy, more hardworking. Everyone's got side hustles. Like it's the realism of people that are here, and then how like they're just real folks. And I think that's why is that we come from a history of that. That's a really interesting story.
Well, it's funny, starting from way back then to moving to today. Went to a trade show last week on connected vehicles and autonomous vehicles. Novi Expo Center, which is Suburban Collection, whatever you call it these days. I don't think I recognized 2 company names in that entire floor, and I've been in this town my entire life. And it's amazing how that industry has kind of shifted this entire kind of area in the city and the state. You guys were talking a little bit about with Ford and mobility. I mean, what are you guys seeing versus what we're seeing in terms of how that autonomous vehicles kind of shaping what the state's going to look like in the next 10 years?
Well, Detroit's the ultimate maker city.
Sure.
And as we did a cover story back in May on, the differences and now the similarities between Detroit and Silicon Valley, there was a big war going on 4 or 5 years ago about who was going to be the next mobility provider. And Silicon Valley was like, well, we're going to do this thing. And then you get down to the nitty gritty and they figure out, it's very, very difficult to build a car, meet all those government regulations, have people, what those people want in those vehicles, all those different styles.
Not to cut you off, but don't you think they won? Uber's valued more than GM right now, and they don't own a damn thing. Well, they kind of. But I mean, you think about it, they went the other way, and here we are with our brick and mortar and our vehicles.
You look at, I mean, like I know of at least 2 of the 3 OEMs that built out huge R&D footprints out in California, and they are pulling them back. To some degree. I mean, you've got more and more opening up in Ann Arbor. You've got more and more, opening up here just around the Metro Detroit area. Yeah, I mean, that's really a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, the markets are largely focused on the if-come.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously have legacy costs that a lot of Silicon Valley companies don't have right now, but
they have cost of living that we don't, so it kind of washes a bit.
Yeah.
But give it 30, 40 years, it'll be a little different.
Sure.
Yeah, you'll have that cost of living and legacy cost.
So what do you foresee what Ford's going to do for Corktown? Because if you look at right now, everybody's speculating and moving and buying property and rehabbing property, and the whole face of what we know is downtown Southwest Detroit is going to be drastically different. I mean, what are you seeing?
I think they were having a big recruiting problem, and the train station, who wouldn't want to work there?
Right.
Right. And I know I've talked to, people at
who
Ford.
wouldn't want to work there now? 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been an option. Because I remember 10 years ago, you could not pay people enough to work downtown. But now it's the cool place to be. So yeah, it's a beautiful move for right now.
Yeah. And, they're going to renovate it, bring 2,500 people from Ford there, and then another 2,500 from their supplier base, startups, partnerships. The real estate market, as you guys all know, is just red hot in Corktown. You'll see a lot of testing. You'll see Michigan Avenue becoming this mobility midway, as we described it.
Well, I went to Wayne State early mid 90s. And you can drive down Cass Corridor right now, and someone told me, did you drive out Cass Corridor late? It looks like Rochester Hills, for crying out loud. And you drive down, and yeah, it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, when you see the lady in the mink coat walking the two dogs at night, it's a different game than.
It's not people stumbling out of Old Miami at.
Oh no! It started with me 10, 12 years ago. I was at HP, and we were doing an event downtown.
At DBC, yeah.
And I said, "Oh my God, there was a white girl just jogging, and no one was chasing her." I'm like, "This Detroit's coming back,
really on the way back."
Well, I've lived in Boston Edison for 20 plus years, and 4 years ago, I noticed a different, just younger families moving in the last couple of years, because there's not a lot of vacancy downtown or midtown. You're seeing it Indian Village, Boston Edison, Sherwood Forest, Palmer Woods. Watch the number of dumpsters at those homes and getting fixed up. It's pretty amazing.
No, it is. It's fun to watch. Like I said, there was 2 bars to go to back then, and now it's I never even heard of half these new places sprouting up by the truckloads. Have you, so what's your take on the birds downtown? Not talking about the flying ones. I'm talking about the motor scooter ones.
Oh, I think it's pretty cool. You got to watch out for them a little bit.
A lot of it.
The fact that they're bringing them out to the neighborhoods, it was kind of interesting that, they had an announcement last week that the city's demanding that Bird and Lime bring them out to the neighborhoods. And, I don't know how they came up with the numbers, but District 5, you have to have 15. District 6, you have to have 20. District 7, you have to have 15. I was like, okay, it's pretty random.
Have you followed Andy from Detroit Bus Company, what he did?
No.
So he was, he was picking them up in the middle of the night just as a pet project, kind of stuff we do for content, just to goof. And he found out that the dead ones were being played around with by kids in the projects and in those districts, right? Mm-hmm. So he went and started a thing called Play Freebird. Got a charity, got people to donate money, and got Razor to double the donation. So he's donating, I think, 550 non-powered scooters, but they're still scooters to kind of those districts and kind of giving back to the kids.
It's interesting to your point, though. I live at 6.5 and Livernois in the University District. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was driving today down 7 Mile, and I noticed a bunch of Lime scooters that had been lined up at the bus stops. So that makes sense as to why now that there's that city to get them out into the suburbs, which is great. But to bring it back around to the magazine, where do you see this going? There's still a lot of changes in Detroit. What's your next big thing?
Well, I have a book coming out. We're aiming for spring, March 13th, 313, called Detroit Engine of America. And it tells that story of how Detroit went from a fort on the wilderness or on the riverfront in 1701 to right to 1900 as the birthplace of the automotive industry. Just amazing stories through the research of how Detroit is so unique, and even to this day, developing all these new things that nobody ever really thinks of.
Who thinks of prohibition in Detroit, though? No one thinks of it. You know, we talk about history of Detroit, everyone thinks of it's Capone in Chicago, and Luciano in New York. Detroit ran all that quietly, but they did, you know, the Purple Gang and all that.
Yeah. I mean, one thing, if you look at a pint, liquor bottle, say a pint of whiskey, a glass bottle that you buy.
Sure.
Has a little curve to it.
Okay.
And everybody thinks you put it in your back pocket.
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah.
bit more comfortable.
Totally.
No, what that was is that, you know, they had the Hiram Walker, plant in Canada.
Okay.
And they would go over, and so they came up with these shaped bottles that they would put these big burlap bags, fill them with salt, and then put all the bottles in there. And then they put them on the boats and they bring them across the water. If the cops showed up, they would just push the burlap bags over, and then they would come back a day later. The salt would dissolve, and these bottles, because of their shape, would float to the surface, and they'd just go and collect the bottles and bring them back.
Interesting.
I know. I've never heard that before in my life. Mind blown.
A lot of little tricks.
Genius.
Yeah.
Illegal alcohol birthed so much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there was a story that came out when Chris Webber was selling his house, and there was a pipeline out to like an old army island in Lake St. Clair, and I'm like, it's fascinating. Like a couple of houses that
secret door down in the basement of Cliff Bell's.
Yep.
That, they were bringing the illegal booze from the river.
Right. Huh.
Good times.
Yeah. Go on with the book. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to kind of talk about Prohibition a little bit 'cause it's my favorite.
No, so the book, so it's organized, first chapter is 1600, 1800. So it tells you what was going on in Europe with the four superpowers, England, France, the Dutch, and the Spanish, how the English and the Dutch settled the East Coast. The Spanish went down to Florida, West Indies, Cuba. The French came up the St. Lawrence, got Quebec, Montreal, came down and got Detroit, 1701, into Ohio, Kentucky, and that was kind of called New France. And it was a buffer to keep the English and the Dutch from expanding westward. And then it just walks you through the next 10 chapters. There's 1800, 1810, and just basically how you went from a village to a town to a city. The Great Fire of 1805, which was deliberately set because everybody was in this barracks or fort, and nobody wanted to move. The streets were only like 12 feet wide, so they had to wait a whole year. Laid out the new streets, provided the people with double the property that they had before as a way to say thank you for waiting. All the lumber mills, somebody had gobbled up all the future contracts for the lumber, so they canceled all those. And nobody could build a home without permission from the government. And then you get into 1810 to 1820, the War of 1812, which we played a pivotal part in that. It was kind of the second Revolutionary War, the U.S. against the British. It tells you, how we started building hearths because people had to heat their homes, but more so their offices, because not a lot of offices at that time had fireplaces. And then Erie Canal opens, and people figure out, well, we don't have to carry a stove on the barge and then on a ship from Lake Ontario to Lake Erie to here. We'll just get it in Detroit. And so we became the stove capital of the world because of that.
See, I had no idea that existed. Wow. And I follow this stuff too. Yeah. I had no idea.
And then you get into the marine engines in 1850s, and then you get Charles Brady King, and who was his mentee was Henry Ford. And, so 1900, David Buick and all the others, Henry Leland, Ford, all got into automotive industry, and that just launched the thing here.
And the rest, as they say, is
what is in the book.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the book called?
A Detroit Engine of America.
Okay. So keep an eye on DBusiness, obviously, .com or on social media when the book gets released. I look forward to reading it. That's fascinating. Love it.
It's the kind of stuff we love, yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break, but find RJ King online, probably on LinkedIn, and then DBusiness.com. And we sincerely appreciate your time, and we're glad you found the building.
Well, thank you for having me.
Anytime. Look forward to having you again. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Nathan LeBenz from Waymark. This is the IT
the furniture company.
I know. It's Wayfair.
I know.
This is the IT and the D show.
And we'll be right back.
I almost thought I said Wayfair. That's why I said
IT and the D. Read, meet, listen. Networking Detroit. one beer at a time.
Hi, I'm Brittany Daniel from The Game, and you're listening to IT and the D Show.
ITinthed.com.
Welcome back. Segment 3, episode 271 of the IT and the D Show, broadcasting live here, Studio One in Podcast Detroit in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. Bob the Sales Guy, Dave the Geek, Nuri the FNG, Randy, I do the Twitters. Find us online, ITinthed.com. If you don't know why I'm pausing after that, because Randy, apparently his friends, he was the only one I was saying his last name. Like, why is it you who only get the last name? So now I'm omitting his last name, but I'm adding the dramatic pause. Dramatic pause. It's like, I can't just do things normally. I have to be a dick.
I mean, yeah.
Exactly. Do us a favor. Go to itinthed.com where you can find all the things. Hit the Meet tab. That's MEET, not MEAT, and you can find out where all of our stuff is. Because I can't keep track anymore.
I just send you calendar invites for everything now.
Right. And luckily we just woke him up about 30 seconds ago, but we got Nathan Lebenz in the house from Waymark. How you doing? Thanks for hanging out with us.
I'm good. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. What are you doing here? No, I'm just kidding. So, I mean, Waymark is, I mean, you guys are would you call yourselves an agency
we
or
would
what?
Not call ourselves an agency.
All right.
Great first question.
Good.
We would call ourselves a technology company. We produce content for people, but we do it in a self-serve model.
Okay.
So we do not have any services that an agency would typically have.
So you're
very important that my investors really want me to emphasize this point for you.
Yeah, it's not teed up either. I totally asked that cold. But I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are producing video content.
Yeah, we produce content. So it's sort of like if you've ever, what you should really do if you're listening is just go to the website, which is waymark.com.
Hashtag cheap plug.
MARK.com. And what you'll find there is an e-commerce sort of experience, very much like what you might have seen if you've ever been to like a Shutterstock for stock media.
Right. Sure.
But the difference is instead of having kind of raw assets that you would use to produce content, we have fully produced content. You can just kind of browse around. It's intended for mostly small businesses. And so you'll kind of go, another way to think of it is like we make buying video marketing for your business kind of like buying a suit off the rack.
So is that like those ads you do, Dave, once in a while? You're like, look what I did. And it's like some pre-produced thing. And you're like,
yeah, and I throw
and
music
you
over
throw
it,
music over.
yeah.
Those are awesome. Is that what you guys do?
I don't know what you do, so I don't know
where'd you find your stuff
how
from?
to compare.
I wasn't going to mention other companies while he was talking.
I'm not either, but
we do 30-second spots. That's kind of the standard,
okay.
15s and 30s. So, the kind of big observation that we start with is people watch a huge amount of video content. I mean, as big as podcasting is, and we all know how huge it is, video, whether it's TV, movies, online, dwarfs everything else.
Well,
estimates are people are watching like 6+ hours a day. So if you're a small business owner, that is a huge opportunity, and it's kind of become the only really scalable way to reach people even in a local market.
Well, you're going to stop
producing the content is really hard.
You're going to stop and listen to that or watch that little video, blinking lights. Wow, it's the old, when you were a kid. You're not going to read a 14-page, like you'll read the headline, you'll skim. You know what I mean? But sometimes if you want to get your message across, sometimes it's just easier to.
Yeah, it fits right into the format of what people are already doing with so much of their time.
And if you're crazy interested, then you'll kind of dive in and read. Yeah. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I mean, the oldest theory of advertising is the information theory of advertising, which is just that people need information about businesses in order to even consider going there and spending their money there. So if you're a local business, that's a particularly acute problem. You open up shop. And the world does not immediately beat a path to your door.
Sure.
So you got to get the word out somehow. And, that's what we exist to do.
Well, it's funny because, my profession, and I'm professional sales, been in business to business, enterprise sales my entire career. And basically, you get that retraining every 5 years. And they're basically like, yeah, you're not a sales guy anymore. Like it's almost like you're
a customer engagement.
No,
executive.
not the stupid title, but I'm saying it's more of an education now. And then people kind of either buy or they don't. It's not necessarily you're selling where you're more or less presenting and teaching and educating. I mean, that's kind of my role. I kind of see or kind of look at, on ads, and that's what you're trying to do as well.
Well, no, I mean, and it does. I mean, that's why I found, what I use is because, dude, I don't have time to go out and or the talent to go out and shoot video and
the budget probably.
Oh, yeah. Or, or to figure stuff out like that myself. The time to money ratio, the ROI is not there. And so services like this are phenomenal. I mean, and I guess is that what you're finding? Like the vast majority of people are going for that 15, 30, maybe 60-second spot, because that tends to be the most consumed. Like what we've seen, we offer video in our studios. And what we tell people all the time is like, look, video is a phenomenal plus one. It is an in addition to, not in lieu of a podcast, because people will listen to you for an hour. They won't watch you.
Well, if you look at Rogan, it's a 3-hour podcast. He puts 10 minutes on YouTube.
Exactly.
And he hits a topic, and that's all you're getting.
Yep. Because it is. I mean, and I guess that's part of my question is, do you find, like, what's the attention span like in the video world?
Well, it's can be very, very short. So, I mean, the reason that people do 30s most often is because that's what the platforms support.
Yeah.
That people are taking the spots that we help them produce, they're putting it on Facebook, YouTube, and then kind of everything else you can imagine. So, and what we're working on also is partnerships with cable companies. You speak about a sales opportunity. The sales teams at the cable companies walk in today to businesses and try to sell them on advertising. They walk in empty-handed. So we can help them kind of walk in with a whole menu of spots that they can show to the business owner and say, hey, you might look like this, you might look like this. And that may not be the final thing that they go with, but it's a great starting point to get people inspired.
Yeah.
But the TV, platforms only support 30 seconds.
Right.
They're a little bit more fixed. And those are, what we in the business call unskippable. But if you do have the option to skip, the metrics on Facebook are like 3 seconds will probably be, like 80% of your audience might be gone in 3 seconds if you're scrolling by in a feed.
Except if it's a tasty video and you're cooking things from a top view.
Or from
then I'm
Worldstar.
watching it for hours.
Well, no, not only that, but I mean, like, I know, like the new thing that I'm seeing more and more of that I'm finding it is annoying more and more people is, even with maybe a 3-minute video, you'll get a minute and a half into it, and then, oh wait, you have to wait for this ad to play before you're catching the rest of your content.
And I'm out.
And I'm out. That's the equivalent of
Mark Cuban.
As soon as I see a click next to continue, I'm out.
That's as soon as I see a live, laugh, love sign in a woman's house. And for those reasons, I'm out.
So what do you see as the engagement rates for video versus traditional advertising on social media platforms? I mean, like everywhere I go nowadays, I'm scrolling through my Instagram and everyone's using video on Instagram, but like on Facebook, what's a business going to expect when they use a video ad over a traditional text-based ad?
Yeah, here's where I'll sound like an agency for a second. It does vary very widely, and it depends, I think, on a huge number of factors. If you're asking to compare video to kind of other formats, like just, photos, we've seen some really interesting stuff there because we've obviously tested all of our own, marketing, photos, video, whatever. And one thing that has been really interesting is when we run a photo ad versus a video, we'll actually get more clicks typically on the photo. So you get more traffic to your website. But if you follow that all the way through to the conversion and purchase, then you'll get more from the video. So what seems to be happening there is that people are able to learn more in that first few seconds of the video and sort of qualify themselves in or out. So the traffic that you do get is higher quality, and the ROI seems to be better.
No, I'd love to know
across those two formats.
I'd love to know the human nature behind it, like why a picture I will maybe glance, but if it's a 3-second GIF of someone like doing like a stupid like left and right dance, I will sit and watch it like 4 times on a loop, right? And if it's a video, I'll sit and watch it like half of it or the whole thing, and like it's this weird human nature of like moving pictures. Well, like, and you sit and stare at it, but I mean, yeah, there's got to be something behind it, because otherwise
that runs
people
pretty deep, right? I mean, we're definitely trained to see motion, and we're also just kind of. Here's a funny story. One time we left an ad, we turned an ad on we didn't mean to turn on, and it had all placeholder copy and placeholder image, so it was just an ad for nothing. It didn't make any sense at all. But we got the highest click-through rate we've ever seen on that ad because people were like, I don't know if I can swear on this show.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What the hell is this? Was kind of the reaction.
Oh, that's the dirtiest word ever said on this show.
I figure I should check, right? I'm the first time I want to be invited back.
I need to know more about Lauren Ipsum.
Yeah, just like a kind of something to put here message was number one. Now, of course, you don't get any sales from that because people don't know what they're clicking on, and they don't really want to be on your website when they find out what it is. They bounce pretty quick, but there is just there's a lot of these little weird behaviors that digital media has sort of brought to the fore, and sometimes not always for the better.
There was a Reddit thread somewhere. Yeah, look at the ad these idiots ran. It was nothing.
Yeah,
go check it out.
And I bought 6 T-shirts from them.
Well, no, I mean, and that's that's the thing is it's not just your conversion rates and that kind of stuff. Like it's the information that sits behind this, the data warehousing. Like we've joked a million times that they know. They know what to serve up. They know who you are. They know if you hit me every other day, I'm going to get annoyed. But you hit me every 3 days with another 80s t-shirt. Yeah, I'm going to have that one.
80stees.com is got a direct highway into my soul. In Shinesty.
Yeah.
God. There's crap every day. I fight not to buy that stuff.
So, and I think that's kind of where you were going a little bit. It does, vary on a number of different factors. You do, even with our stuff that I've played around with, whether, if you're using targeting for your demographics, if you're using this, if you're just shooting it out blind, to a region versus, an information set or an interest set, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I get what all, do you guys help with some of that too, or are you just strictly on the content side and the consulting can come from somebody else?
We do very much focus on the content side. For 2019, one of our big initiatives is going to be establishing partnerships with video ad platforms so that we can help small businesses get placement they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Cable TV is kind of somewhat available, somewhat accessible, but it starts at a pretty expensive level in today's world. We're trying to make that more accessible for local businesses, and then all sorts of other kind of online things from Amazon Video to Hulu to, hopefully one day Netflix, even though they didn't have ads yet, but they seem to be moving in that direction.
It better not.
So we'll be,
cable TV wasn't supposed to have ads.
That's right. My parents always mentioned that, that when cable TV first came out, no ads, and then, well, here we are.
Ads, here they come.
Oh, we're old enough to remember. We know. Pre-remote control.
We're always ads in my.
When I was your age,
for as long as I can remember, there've been ads in my cable TV. But
I don't remember there not being, honestly, because we come from the school where On TV had its own box, HBO had its own box, pre-cable. Then when cable broke, there's only 40 stations, but there was always ads.
No, because what I remember,
they promised no ads.
It's like Amazon and Netflix and Hulu do now. They hit you with a lot of ads for their own stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't, as commercialized as it is now.
Now, this is really interesting. I'm looking through your website, and it basically looks like I could log in as a person, pick my content with my fonts, my music, and everything, and just basically self-serve my own video ads. That's kind of your goal, right?
That's right. And I would say probably half of the people who become customers do so on their very first visit to the site.
Is it really that easy?
Is super easy to do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this totally looks like exactly what I'm using.
There is even
I'm curious.
There's a convenience method in there. If you kind of go into the edit, the personalize is the button that you'd click on.
You have to sign up for an account at that point.
We probably will ask you for your email. Yeah, we won't miss that trick. But when you do,
they are in marketing.
When you do hit that personalize button and go add a business, you can search for a business. You could do it for you guys. You could do it for a restaurant on the street, whatever. And we will go out and find as much of your content as we can, so that we can pull in your photos, your customer reviews, and kind of just weave that into the story. That is really helpful, especially for mobile. And that's one of the big things that we've kind of had to contend with, because when you're doing online marketing, so much of it has shifted to mobile that now the majority of your traffic coming to your site for the first time are mobile visitors. How do you make this thing easy enough to use for people that are on a phone? So we went to quite a bit of trouble to kind of figure out how can we go source all the photos, parse the customer reviews, find the highlights. And that works actually really quite well for most businesses. Certainly if you have like a restaurant or kind of a down the fairway local business, I don't know what exactly will come up, depending on what kind of online reviews you guys have. It might be,
laughably, they're pretty good.
Well then,
because they know.
Might make a good video for you.
That's right. Don't make us hunt you down.
Larry's doing a commercial for his rave. That's what he's gonna. There's gonna be
these,
some.
These are amazing. Like these are like super compelling little video bits with and you license all the music and everything else like that. So if I'm a business owner, I don't have to worry. about
you get a
ASCAP or
commercial
BMI
license. Yep. We have deals with the different media companies, whether it's photos, video clips, or music. We actually, even though we're a small company, we only have about 30 people, but we do have a general counsel. Shout out to Tim, who goes around and does, all these deals with these media companies, because you got to have that. And, to be able to do kind of a resale, so that people can actually use it for commercial purposes.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of paperwork behind that.
So I sit down, I crank out an ad, and it's very reasonably priced. On your website, it's $49, or the premier version is $99 for 2 ads a month. Do I get that file? Is it hosted with you guys?
Yeah, you get the file. So we try to make this thing as customer friendly as we possibly can make it. So no subscription is required, which is a huge, point of endearment for many of our customers, because not everybody needs a subscription to everything. And I think that model
the one I use had a subscription.
Is getting,
it doesn't annoy me.
It's a bit overdone. And we offer the subscription. So we're not, against that, but we don't want to force it on people. It's a $99 or $49, depending on which line you're looking at. One-time download. You get an MP4, and it's just yours then to go run and do whatever you want to do with. So you have again, shout out to Tim, worldwide, perpetual, irrevocable, unlimited, whatever, license.
Artists, sign your life away here. Press hard, 3 copies. No, and honestly, and I'll be you hit me with something that I hadn't thought of before. Like, I've been doing those ads. It never even dawned on me to upload those to our YouTube channel. Like, I post them on Facebook. Oh, yeah. I may throw them on Instagram. That didn't even dawn on me.
We suck at socially. We figured that out.
We're horrible. We're the worst.
Well, you guys got some things working. I mean, there's always everybody's got their own little formula for success. And I think for most of our customers, video is not the heart of their success, right? I mean, there's one thing I always tell small business owners, because everybody's kind of trying to figure out like what they should be doing on social and with media in general. I always say it is a huge mistake for you to look at the people who have had runaway success on social media and try to copy what they are doing, because for them, that is their whole thing.
Well, and that worked that one time.
In.
That doesn't mean that works again.
It's not going to work for you, because you are baking bread or making pizzas or whatever it is you're doing locally,
right?
And you're not going to be the 100-mile-an-hour content engine
Wendy's.
That
you're not Kylie Jenner launching when your family is the Kardashians.
But by the same token, that doesn't mean that you can ignore it entirely, right?
Yeah.
Because you do need to kind of do the very basic stuff. Like, you need to have your page, you need to have your information out there, and there are some kind of core best practices. But don't confuse doing those like first 10 things and just doing them, doing a solid job of them with trying to become an internet celebrity. And that kind of confusion, I think, throws a lot of people into wasting a lot of time and resources.
No, it's classic Wendy's Twitter. Like, McDonald's cracking jokes on people isn't at Wendy's. Like, you can't, just because they're funny doesn't mean you should be also.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those things where, we get it.
Wendy's is fabulous. Stop
Right.
trying to be Wendy's.
Well, that's the thing that always drives us nuts is stupid meme, 30,000 views and 100 shares. Informative write up about
click
free
here for
training
free jobs
and free jobs. three hits, I don't know if it does, Facebook doesn't like the algorithm or what,
Well, some of it's that, and some of it's just user engagement. I mean, that's one of the things we've learned with social is that different platforms have different expectations. It's Facebook, it's stupid memes. That's what people want from us.
Well,
that's fine.
You can only post on Facebook twice a day, maybe. Twitter every 5 minutes is fine. Instagram every 5 minutes is fine. LinkedIn every 2-3 days, maybe. Before you're that person, like, oh, I hate you. Your feed is,
Stop taking over my feed.
Yeah, you're my feed. I hate, But like, yeah, you got these rules it's an actual thing.
So I guess what would you tell, like, who's your target demographic? What would you tell someone coming to you for this service? What should they expect?
Target customers for us are just any and all small businesses. And our customer base is super diverse. We have a lot of real estate agents. We have a lot of car dealers. We have a lot of restaurants. We have home services, anything from a roofer to a plumber to landscaper, professional services as well. So that's your lawyers, dentists, orthodontists, it's really just everybody. And no single category is even more than 10%. But what we want to create for all those folks is just a really easy to use, make something that you'll be proud of in just a couple minutes and buy it from us. And then go on, using it however you want to use it, but stay focused on kind of what makes you. There's the reason we pull customer reviews in and feature them automatically in the videos is that that's what people should be focused on. If they can satisfy the customers, if they can drive positive experiences and positive reviews, like we want that to feed back into their marketing.
I had a thought. Let me solidify it. Go ahead and dive in for a second.
No, I got nothing.
Oh, of course not.
Really?
No. So I'm just kidding. No. So I mean, I like that because that's the place I use doesn't do that. That's what I was going to ask. So like, do you take requests? Like, hey, I'm I'm a podcast studio. I'm looking for this kind of content that I can't seem to find out here. Can you guys go forth and do?
We have a community group on Facebook, so we definitely take those kinds of requests. We typically do not do things to order. So we'll kind of, we'll source requests from the community and then kind of distill them into
build a genericized model thereof.
What we think is going to be most successful. We do also have a line of business with brands. So for example, I mentioned we're kind of working on a partnership with a national cable company, also working on one with a big car maker. And with them, that's going to be custom content, but it'll be for their dealer network. So it's kind of still the same model of, look, you're in wherever you are. There's, thousands of dealers under this brand across the country and they need good quality stuff. The brand wants them to have good quality stuff, but they don't have, studios at each dealership. So we'll kind of make something that they can then localize, make their own. And it'll use the same interface and the same technology that everybody else does.
I like it. I'm dead serious. I'm totally going to check this out because just a couple things I've heard put this a couple steps ahead of what I'm using currently. So cool. Glad we had you on the show.
And glad you're local. That's even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right downtown. We, I grew up in the area, moved away for 10 years. I was, away through my dad was a GM guy for the longest time. I was away through the bankruptcy and then came back about 6 years ago on the front edge of, all the investment that has gone into downtown. Dan Gilbert and his team, which is Detroit Venture Partners, became an investor in the company when we started it. And it's been awesome to be downtown for those last 6 years. I mean, when we started, it was, as you guys were talking earlier in the show, still a little thin, in terms of traffic. My wife was like, I don't feel comfortable really going outside, even during the day sometimes. There's nobody out there. This was 2012. But, fast forward to today and it's like, man, it feels like a real city and it's a lot more fun.
Hashtag that, Randy, on our Twitter. Feels like a real city. Yeah. Detroit.
Well, I've been very new logo. Fortunate in my life to live in some great places. Boston, New York, San Francisco, Buenos Aires for a year. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are, awesome places.
Real cities.
Yeah. So I feel like
San Francisco, they're paying people to clean poop up on the sidewalks. I don't know, but it's a real
they got
city
some
anymore.
Problems out there now. Yeah. But it's still a great place. But Detroit has really turned a corner, I think, in the last handful of years. The downtown, which is I've lived exclusively downtown over the last 6 years. I barely, driving out here to see you guys was about as far as I travel. It's usually just the apartment is there, the office is there, and then I'm a big fan of the YMCA. Shout out to the Bull family YMCA downtown.
The song or the organization?
No, I play basketball and squash like 3 times a week there, so I love those guys. But
I've been here my whole life. It's fun to watch.
It's become
not the YMCA playing squash, but the city.
Yeah, really quite something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nate, appreciate you coming down. Waymark.com. Definitely give them a look-see. We're going to wrap things up this episode 271 of the IT and the D Show. I'd like to thank RJ King from DBusiness, Nathan from Waymark. Appreciate hanging out with us this whole time. Thank you to our sponsors, Eero, the NSA, and DigitalOcean. Thank you for keeping the lights on.
It just sounds so weird.
I know, right?
Our sponsor. the NSA.
On behalf of Bob, Dave, Neri, and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.
See you guys.
The emergency destruct system is now activated.
Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
Long live Flash. You've saved your Earth. Have a nice day.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name? Murphy.
Make the run. The run.
Game over, man. Game over.
It's over, Johnny. It's over.
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.
I can't say no, and I don't really want to, so.
Well, especially with the back doors open.
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out! Y'all take a chill. You need to cool that shit out. And that's the double truth, Ruth.
Bob loves it in the can.
I hope this was as much fun for you as it was for me.
That's why I like it in the can.
Joe, own the truth.
Fear me.
My job is to make sure this program is morally upright and cultural and wholesome.
Shut up, Mimsy! Shut up, Mimsy! Shut up, Mimsy!
Why would, Buick put their cars next to, the Bentleys? Why? That's not marketing.
The alphabet.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I can't take that position.
That analogy sucks because it's right.
Because you're getting your 8-track tuned up.
Are we at a break yet? Yeah, so now I'm just doing stupid stuff to make me laugh.
Venture capital is not the end game.
When are we going to talk about me?
Jane, you ignorant slut.
It's my show. I can say what I want.
Kiss my ass, go home, unplug, get off the goddamn internet. You are everything that is wrong with the internet right now.
You're so white right now.
I'm the whitest guy in the room. Just explain it to me.
I love this city.
I was banging on the wang.
Really? Should we talk about this? Tag team it. Should I keep going or should I stop?
Can I just say, it's been great being on a show that talks about Mickey Rooney dying for 20 seconds and then poop for 10 minutes.